right, so today we are working on unit 1.5. Okay, we are in unit 1.5. So hopefully you already have your books out as well. If you don't, then you will need it to be out. So get your book out. Well, I'm not there yet. Hold on. I'm not there yet. Okay, so I'm on unit 1.5. Okay, so hopefully you have your books out. And we are going to be dealing with negative exponents. Negative exponents. Okay, there's kind of a rule in math that tells you don't want to ever leave an answer with negative exponents. Okay, and big key that I want you to remember here. Okay, remember to yourself, or remember in your head, okay, that negative exponents make fractions. Okay, negative exponents make fractions, not negative numbers. Okay, negative exponents make fractions. They do not make negative numbers. Okay, there's also a rule that you are going to need to memorize. And the rule is, does anybody know what is anything? What happens when you do anything to the 0 power? Does anyone know what the rule is for 0 powers? Yeah, Quartz? It doesn't stay the same. Okay, actually anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. Okay, so anytime you have something with a 0 power, it's kind of like giving you a shortcut, because really it's just going to equal 1. Okay, and we'll get to the 0 power stuff in just a little bit. But first thing we're going to ask you to do is write each expression. Write each expression using a positive exponent. Write each expression using a positive exponent. Okay, write each expression using a positive exponent. So for number 1, I'm going to ask you to write 4 to the negative 5th using a positive exponent. Now, it'd be really nice if we could just say, oh, 4 to the positive 5th, and just rewrite it. But that doesn't exactly work that way. Okay, so up here I said, remember, negative exponents make fractions, not negative numbers. So here we are going to do just that. Okay, how can I write 4 to the negative 5th? How can I write that as a fraction? Does anyone know? How can I make this into a fraction? How can I make any number into a fraction? Anyone? I heard a couple of guesses. How can I make any number into a fraction? Equals 6. Anyone think they know? How about Kelsey? Think you know? How can I write any number as a fraction? Not 100. You're thinking of making decimals into fractions, but you're really close. You could put anything over 1, right? Could I write 4 just by itself is the same thing as writing 4 over 1, right? Okay? That's the same way that you make this a fraction. Then all you have to do is, we are going to write yourself a note, move the negative exponent. Move the negative exponent to other side of the fraction bar. Move the negative exponent to the other side of the fraction bar. So here, if it's negative on the top, all you do is, we call burying the exponent. Okay, that's how we refer to it. And you just move it to the bottom. Now, if I just move it to the bottom, the base stays exactly the same. The only thing that changes is the exponent, instead of being negative, it becomes positive. Okay? You don't change the number on the exponent. The only thing you're going to change is the sign on the exponent. Now, if I move this to the bottom, what do you think is left in the top? A 1. We have to put something called a placeholder 1. This is your answer. Okay, so literally all we're going to do today is just be moving things to opposite sides of fractions. Okay, if you move it to the opposite side of a fraction, it becomes positive. Okay, anyone have a question on how I did that to start with? Not too bad? Okay, let's try another one. I want you to do the same thing. Rewrite this with a positive exponent, m to the negative 6 power. M to the negative 6 power. So automatically, first thing you have to do is if you see a negative exponent, automatically we have to make it into a fraction. So make fraction bar, put it over 1. Now that you have it as a fraction, wherever the negative exponent is, you move it to the other side. So this one's going to move to the bottom. Okay, if it moves to the bottom, your denominator now has an m to the 6th power, and what's left in the numerator in the top?
1.
A 1. That's your answer. That's it. Okay, so to get rid of negative exponents, you move them to the other side of the fraction bar, and it becomes positive. So what I would like you to do now is let's look at your book. Okay, open up your book to page 44. Open up your book to page 44. Okay, and I want you to look at the got it A through D. Okay, so I want you to look at these 4. And we're going to figure out, write these using a positive exponent. Okay, write this using a positive exponent. So I want you to try A through D on page 44. Okay, I want you to look on page 44 and do A through D, letters A through D. We're going to see if we've got it yet. Try examples A through D. Ooh, and C is a little bit challenging because I told you the definition, but I didn't actually do any problems like that. All right, let's see if we've got it. So, say it again. Did you say something? Oh, I thought Nathan said something. Sorry. Okay, for A, I thought you were talking to me. Sorry. I think you were talking to yourself, but it's okay. Okay, for A, 7 to the negative 2, what did you get for that, Amber?
I got 1 over 7.
Yeah. So 1, so you made it a fraction, moved it to the bottom, and you got 1 over 7 squared. Right. Now, technically, if you wanted to, you could also write that as 1 over what is 7 squared? 49. Okay. I would take either answer if this was a test or a quiz. Okay. So if you worked it out, that's fine. Okay, what did we get for B? B as in boy, what did we get? Nathan. What did you get for B? Question B.
1 over B.
To what power?
4.
Yeah. So 1 over b to the 4th power. You got it. Okay. How about question C? Did you get something for question C, Corinne? What did we say? Anything to the 0 power is equal to. That's your answer. It's just 1. Okay? I know. It sounds like it's going to be super confusing, but it's really not. Okay? Anything to the 0 power. So it could be an x, it could be a y, it could be any number. That's to the 0 power, it equals 1. Not 5 to the 1 power, but just 1 total. Okay, that's it. And then how about for D? On D, what did we get? Fabiana is not here. Erica.
I got 1 over m to the 3rd power.
Perfect. 1 over m to the 3rd power. There you go. Anyone have any questions on how we got those answers? Okay, so do we feel, yes, Amber. For C, remember I told you at the beginning, anything to the 0 power equals 1. So anything to the 0 power will equal 1, just 1. Okay, the whole number goes away, the exponent goes away, it just equals 1. Good. This, I want to make this as easy as possible, so that's good. If you think this is easy, that is just fine. Okay, I would like it to be easy for you. That is great. Okay, for example number 3. Now, you do have to do a little bit of writing for this example. Okay, so it is a little bit of a word problem, but I think you're going to be okay. For example number 3, if I tell you a human hair, so one piece of hair is about 0.001 inch in diameter. A human hair is about 0.001 inch in diameter. I would like you to write the decimal as a power of 10. Write the decimal as a power of 10. Write this decimal as a power of 10.
I don't get it.
Well, you haven't written it down yet, so start with that. So, if I want to write this as a power of 10, the first thing I need to do is change this decimal into a fraction. Okay? Does anyone know how would I change that decimal into a fraction? This is 1, and what place value is that 1 in right there? Thousandths, right. So it always goes tenths, then hundredths, then thousandths. So this is 1 over 1,000. Okay. Now, if we think about it, 1,000 is 10 to what power? 10 to what power equals 1,000? 10 to the what? No, not 10 to the 10th power. Okay, think about it. Like 10 to the 1st is equal to what? Just 10. What's 10 to the 2nd power? No, not 10 times 2, but 10 times 10 would be 100. What would be 10 to the 3rd power? 1,000. Are you noticing, that the number of the exponent matches the number of zeros? So 10 to the 2nd means 1 with 2 zeros. 10 to the 3rd means 1 with 3 zeros. So, did we figure out what power of 10 equals 1,000? Right, so this would be 1 over 10 to the what power? 3rd power. Now, you can actually go backwards here, okay? What if I wanted to write this as a power of 10, so I don't want it as a fraction? If I wanted to move it to the top, what do you think happens to the exponent? It becomes negative, right? Okay, if you're going to move it, it changes signs. So this would be to the negative 3 power. That's the answer that I'm looking for there. Okay, so you can also change things to give them a negative exponent. Okay, but I want you to keep in mind, negative exponents always make fractions. They do not make negative numbers. Okay, so just keep that in the back of your head. Even a lot of my students that are in Algebra 2 still are trying to get that in their brain and remember it. Okay, negative exponents make fractions, not negative numbers. Okay, I would like you to look at, let's see, look at on page 45. I want you to look at the got it question I. Okay, so look at this one. It's talking about a water molecule. Okay, a water molecule is about 0. And too many zeros meters long. Write the decimal as a power of 10. So I'm going to do this together, and I'm going to show you a little trick. Okay, if here, okay, if I was right here, and I was still talking about this one, does anyone see kind of a trick on how I could get from here to the power of 10? Does anyone see a little trick with that's talking about, or that's relating the decimal point and its power on 10? David, did you see it, you think? You thought so? What were you thinking it was? Yes, so pretty close. We're looking at how many times would I have to move to get it to the one after? And it would have to be 1, 2, 3 spaces, right? If you're getting a bigger number, it's always moving to the right. So it would be a -3. Okay, so if you're going from a decimal to a whole number, you move that. So there's kind of a trick here. I don't really want to know 10 to what power equals, because this is 1 over, I don't even know how many numbers. Okay, but what you could do here is you could just count. Okay, let's count how many times it would take to get from the decimal point to move it all the way after the 1. So count the number of spaces. So we would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spaces. Okay, so 1 over 10 to the 10th power, right? Then how would I rewrite that as just a power of 10? If I wanted to get rid of the 1 on top, what would I do? If I move it up, what does the power on 10 become? 10 to the -10th power. Okay, 10 to the -10th power. What we're starting to do here is something called scientific notation. Have you guys ever heard of that before? No? Well, don't worry today, because we're going to do a whole bunch of it tomorrow. Okay, but today we're just working on the negative decimals, or excuse me, negative exponents. So this would be 10 to the -10th power. Okay, I helped you that one because it's a little bit challenging. Okay. Now let's look at, I'm going to flip the page. Okay, so now that we kind of understand how to write negative exponents, now we are going to multiply and divide. Multiply and divide with negative exponents. Multiply and divide with negative exponents. Okay, multiply and divide with negative exponents. For example, 4, I would like you to multiply 2 to the -8th power multiplied by 2 to the 3rd power. 2 to the -8 times 2 to the 3rd power. Now, we did some multiplication with the same bases last week. Okay, does anyone remember what happens if you have 2 of the same bases? What do you do with their exponents? Do you add them or multiply them? You add them, right? These are the ones where there's a lot more space in between, so you can add them. What do you do with the 2's? Keep them the same. So don't multiply them together. Just keep it as a 2. So this is really going to become 2 to the -8 plus 3. What is -8 plus 3? -5, right? Now, remember earlier I told you you can never have an answer with a negative exponent in it. So how can I change this so it doesn't have a negative exponent? What would I have to do? Make it a fraction, right? So Jennifer's right. Make it a fraction. And then bury it. So move it to the bottom. So that become 2 to the 5th power on the bottom. What stays on the top? A 1. It's called a placeholder 1. Now, you could either write your answer like this, or this could be 1 over, do you know what 2 to the 5th power is? It's on my chart. 32. Okay, I would take either one of those as an answer. Okay, now, do be very careful when you're on your handwriting that your exponents are actually up in the air and they look like exponents, not like 2 times 5. Okay, so just be a little bit careful when you're on your handwriting here. Okay, and let's try one more. So for number 5, okay, I would like you to try x to the negative 2 divided by x to the negative 6. X to the negative 2 divided by x to the negative 6 power. Dustin, me too. X to the negative 2 over x to the negative 6. Now, we want to add these together, right? I want to move them. So I want to move the bigger one. Which one is bigger? An x to the 2nd or an x to the 6th? The 6. So I want to move this, and I want to rewrite it up here. Okay? The x to the negative 2 stays exactly the same. Well, what happens to the x to the 6th? The negative 6 becomes positive. Okay, so I'm switching it because I moved where it was. I switched its side of the fraction bar. Then, what do I do with these exponents here? Add them, right? So x to the negative 2 plus 6 would give you an answer of x to the what power? 4. That's your answer. Right. Does anyone have questions on how I did that? Not yet? Okay, I would like you to look at page 45, and we're going to do the got it problems, J through M. So J, K, L, and M. Okay, so 4 problems, and then I'm going to give you guys some time to work on your homework. Okay, so let's look at the got it problems, J, K, L, and M on page 45. Okay, look at page 45. And after we're done with those, I will give you some time to start working.
Yeah, just the weather. Like, would you want that AP classes or hard or something like that or clubs or you have a job.
We are looking at page 45. Looking at page 45. All right, so if we're looking at problem J, 3 to the negative 8 times 3 to the 2nd power. What did we get for an answer? Destin. For J, what would we get?
3 over negative 6.
Okay, 3 to the negative 6, so that's the first step. But I don't want to write any fractions, or I don't want anything with a negative exponent. So how can I make it a positive exponent? What would I do?
You turn it into a fraction.
I turn it into a fraction, and then what do I do?
You flip the number.
Move it. Perfect. So what would your final answer be?
3 to the power of 10.
No, not quite. You're going to move it to the bottom. So we want 3 to the 6th on the bottom, but what stays on the top?
8.
A 1. Okay, so 1 over 3 to the positive 6th power. Okay, how about for K? This one's a little bit tricky here. Okay, what would you do for K? Anyone think they know? How about Ashley? Think you know? What would you do for K? Switch them? Okay, so how would you do that? So So what would you get for an answer, do you think? 11 to the power of 2. Very, very close, okay? This one, which one has more 11s, basically? Is it the top or the bottom? The bottom, okay? So whichever one has the bigger power, that it basically wins. We say that the 11 to the 4th wins, so 11 stays on the bottom. And how much does it win by? If this had 2 on the top and 4 on the bottom, how much would it win by? By 2. And what do you think is left behind in the top? A 1 in the top. Okay, just a 1. So this would be 1 over 11 squared. That's why we do these extra got it problems, because sometimes I haven't gone over that. Okay, so I want to make sure that we hit every kind of problem that you're going to see on your homework. Okay. How about L? What do we think we would get for problem L? I just picked on Ashley, and I picked her stick again, so I won't pick on you. I picked on, wow, I pick the same people a lot. Sydney. Sydney, what do you think you would get for problem L? Perfect, okay, because you added 9 and negative 4, so she got n to the power of 5. Good job. And then the last one for M. M is in mom. Kylie, what would you got for M? You didn't finish that one, okay? Well, we can work through it together. How do you think you would start? Any ideas? This is kind of like number 5 that I just did. I can help you out here. So we have b to the negative 4. If I'm going to move the bigger one to the other side, that would become b to the positive 7. And then when you add these together, negative 4 and positive 7 gives us what? 3, right? So it'd be b to the 3rd power. Okay, you guys are actually doing for your homework tonight, you were doing numbers 20 through 52 even. Okay, 20 through 52 even. So your homework is not actually starting until page 48. Okay, so I would like to go ahead and get started on that.